problem goes, list all sessions performed by Jonathan Risk or any other therapist that performed the same therapies. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our tables. So we have our patient table, we have a session table, a therapies table, and a therapist table. I'm going to quickly just go over to query design, and I'm going to start with that. I think I need everything except the patient table, so let me just drag those in here, and let's look at the relationships between those. And I think, let's see if we can get those in here. Okay, double clicking, therapies and therapists. Okay, so now I see my tables, I see the relationships I have there. And this is not necessarily required, but it's nice to do. And so the question is, can I see list all sessions performed by Jonathan Risk or any other therapist that performed the same therapies? It's a little bit of a tricky question, but let's answer the first part. Let's forget about the or. So list all sessions performed by Jonathan Risk. Okay, that should be fairly simple. We're going to add a criteria here, and we're going to say the criteria is that the therapist's first name, last name is Risk, right? So we say Risk, and we say that the first name therapist is Jonathan. And I don't want to show this information, but I do want to show the sessions, all of the session information. That's what the little dot is going to show, everything. And I'm going to run this. Okay, so this really gives me, and I ran it, and it gets me into this view here with the results. It gives me all the sessions by Jonathan Risk. Now, if we look at the question, it says list all sessions performed by Jonathan Risk or any other therapist that performed the same therapies. Okay, I'm going to reword this a little bit. So I'm going to say this is the same. I say list all sessions where the therapy performed is the same as the therapies performed by Jonathan Risk. Okay, list all sessions where the therapy performed is the same as the therapies performed by Jonathan Risk. Okay, this to me sounds a little bit clearer, and I'll show you why this is important. So let's say list all the sessions where the therapy is performed is the same as therapies performed by Jonathan Risk. Okay, so we know that these are the therapies that Jonathan Risk performed. And to find the therapies, we only need the therapy code. So I'm going to go back into my design view. And instead of saying session, all the session information, I actually just want therapy code. Okay? And so I'm going to run this query. And so these are the therapy codes that Jonathan Risk performed. Okay, so when I go back to my question, sorry, different pop-up there, list all sessions where the therapy performed is the same as the therapies performed by Jonathan Risk. We've answered the second part of the question. So now what we need to do is list all the sessions. Okay, so we almost, if we think about it, this query here is actually the query that tells us all the therapy codes that Jonathan Risk performed. And let's go ahead and create a new query. Okay, so we go to create. Let's create a new query. Query design. And now I'm just going to look at sessions. I'm going to look at sessions. I want to show all the sessions. And then I'm going to actually have a criteria. And I'm going to say my criteria is my therapy code. Okay. And I'm actually not going to provide a criteria yet, but I'm going to run this. And if I run this, I see that I get everything. I get every therapist. I get every code. And we know, if we look at this, that Jonathan Risk only performed these two therapies. So what I want to do in my second criteria, so actually I want to go in to my design view. I actually want to limit this to only the things that Jonathan performed. And so one way I can do this is I go back to my query of what Jonathan the therapy codes that he has. I actually go in and I look at the SQL view. So on view, I go to SQL view, and I take this SQL view and I copy it. Oh, sorry about that. That should undo. Okay, let's see if I can undo that. Okay. Oh no, I just see if I can go back to my design view. Oh no. So I can quickly just create that. I must have hit some button there. Therapies.therapy code, session.therapy code, excuse me. Session.therapy code. And then we had therapist last name, therapist first name, last name risk, Jonathan. And then I'm going to hide this. Okay, and I'm going to run. Okay, I got it back quickly, and then make sure I copy this properly. Okay, so I copied the SQL query here, and now I know this returns all of my sessions, but if I right click on here and I say zoom, I can actually add a criteria myself, and that criteria can be SQL. So actually I can say, I can take my query, and there's a special key to say when you're looking at looking for a value, and you say in, and I want to remove this. I want to actually remove this semicolon at the end. So this is so I put in, and then I open parentheses and then close parentheses. Then I pasted my SQL. I'll do that again. I pasted my SQL right there, and then I removed the semicolon. Okay. And this is what's called the inner query. So my query is actually using a query within it. And I click OK. And now we will see the query there, and I click Run. And I did it right because I actually see everything. And if we go and inspect our tables, we'll realize that actually the only people who do these therapies that Jonathan Risk performs is Jonathan Risk. So what we've gone through today is we've gone through how to do an inner query or subquery using Microsoft Access. It's not always very simple to do, and sometimes what happens is when you paste the SQL, if you do any small change, it might break, and it might give you weird errors. So make sure to be very specific about how you do that SQL. Good luck, and I will talk to you all soon.